I'm here today with Noël Janis Norton. She is the founder and director of Calmer, Easier, Happier Parenting. At her center, she has provided a lifeline for families in difficult times. She is also the author of Calmer, Easier, Happier Homework, which is what we're going to talk about today. So nice to see you again, Noël.
Hi.
So lots of parents out there are finding homework to be an enormous issue. It's incredibly daunting, especially if it's become a big palaver between children and their parents. You know, it can ruin an entire afternoon. So I think just lots of parents would like to just say goodbye to the issue completely. Let somebody else take care of it. What would you say to these parents?
Well, since homework isn't going away, unfortunately, we have to learn how to deal with it. And the book that I've written, Calmer, Easier, Happier Homework, is full of strategies that parents can use that will make homework enjoyable as well as productive. The main complaint that parents have is children refusing, resisting, making a fuss, possibly even having a tantrum.
Losing their pens, you left it at school.
Going to the loo 5 times, saying they don't know how to do it. And there is a strategy that cuts through all of that. So let me tell you what it is. Go to the school and find out how long homework is supposed to take in that year. And then make a new rule at home, and you'll need to tell your child this rule not right before homework, because they'll already be wound up at that time, but at a completely neutral time. Tell them that the new rule is that from now on, that's how long homework can take. Not a minute longer, not a minute less. So then, when it's homework time, you set the timer, put the timer up on a shelf where they can't fiddle with it and it won't distract them, and then it's their job. Instead of it being part of the parent's job description to drag the child through their homework, because that results in parents getting so tense, and in the repeating and the reminding and the cajoling and the bribing and the threatening, which makes everybody feel horrible, and it's a nightmare. So it doesn't have to be a nightmare if the child knows this is how much time you've got.
I think that's particularly useful because if the job is done, it's done. But if it doesn't get done, it's not the parent's job. They've let it go. They've given the amount of time, and that's it.
And the thing to remember is the children want to get their homework done. They don't actually want to do it, but they definitely want to get it done. They want to be able to go into school next day with it done, because they don't want to get in trouble. What's likely to happen in the first day or two is that they'll waste time, and then the timer will go ding, and it won't all be finished, and they learn from that. So this does require self-control on the part of the parent, because the parent may well be anxious. So you have to rein yourself in and let the timer do the job.
Yes, and then if the child doesn't do the homework, I suppose they realize you mean business, because that's the end of it for that day.
Exactly.
And then the following day, they'll do their homework.
That's right. So when the timer goes ding, with a big smile, you pack up everything and you say, homework time is finished.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah.
The child will learn that it's their job to get the homework done. The parent is not going to say anything. They're not going to butt in.
Exactly.
I think that's brilliant. You say, Noël, that there are 3 stages of homework. I wonder if you could tell us about them and why they're important.
Yes. The other common complaint that parents have about homework is, my child does the homework, but they rush through it so that they can get back to their DS or their Wii, and they're cutting corners, and it's a rushed, scrappy, scruffy job. The first stage of the 3 stages is what I call a think-through, because it requires the parent and the child both to think. The parent is thinking about what questions to ask to bring back into the child's short-term memory everything that they need to be thinking about in order to do their best. And the child needs to be thinking about the answers. And as the child answers the questions, they see themselves doing it right.
Yes. What if their child just won't do the think through? They're not cooperating, they find it annoying, and they refuse to do the think through.
Well, that very, very rarely happens. It might happen the first day or two, especially if you have a child who is used to the homework being too difficult. Then you have my complete permission to take an executive decision and simplify the homework so that it is something that the child will be learning from. Because we don't learn from anything that's too easy or too hard. Other than that, there's not really any reason why a child wouldn't want to answer the questions.
Do you know, I think a lot of parents out there that are really quite concerned about this, because I think that they, instead of feeling like they're able to make their children's homework calmer, easier, and happier, they find they're constantly making it angrier and more difficult.
Yeah. All of the nagging makes it worse. As soon as we get annoyed with our children, they get annoyed right back. With this new strategy, there's nothing to be annoyed about.
So can you talk us through stage 2?
Yes. So stage 1 is going to be 5 minutes of asking children the specific questions that they need. Shall I give you a few examples of those?
Sure.
Okay. So you might say to a young child, how does every sentence in your story have to begin? And then they think about it and they say capital letters. And what that means is when they go to write their story, they're likely to put the capital letters. You might ask a child, when you're doing your multiplication, where does the carry number go? And then that helps them to visualize it as they're answering it. You might say, how will the teacher know that you really know how to do this and you haven't just copied it from somebody else? And of course the answer is they have to show their work.
Yes.
So at every level, there are questions to address what we know our child is going to need help with. So that's stage 1.
That's stage 1.
Stage 2 is the child does their work with no help whatsoever.
That's that time with the timer.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
timer's on. And
that's right.
Yes.
The timer's on. So if they have a half an hour to do something, the first 5 minutes would be the think through, and then stage 3, which I'll explain about in a minute, will also be 5 minutes. So they have 20 minutes to do the writing part
To
of
sit
it.
by themselves and look out the window or focus or whatever they want to do. They can
That's
do
right.
in their 20 minutes, they've got 20 minutes.
And if you're willing to do these stage 1 think-throughs, you'll find that stage 2 goes so much more easily and quickly and enthusiastically.
So you found that the level of resistance goes way down in stage 2 because you've done stage 1.
Exactly. And stage 2 needs to be an ongoing exercise in self-reliance. It's training our children to be able to start something and complete it.
Yeah. As you say, I think it's the parents here who are going to find it the most difficult.
Yeah.
Because they've got to bow out, and that's the tricky bit.
So if we think that it's hard to exercise self-control, it's much harder when you're nagging and repeating and reminding and bribing and cajoling, and your child's just getting annoyed right back.
Okay, so the buzzer dings and the homework time is finished, and we're on to stage 3.
And if at all possible, have some time between stage 2 and stage 3. Because stage 2 uses one part of the brain, the creating part of the brain, and stage 3 uses the evaluating part of the brain. So, and it takes a while for a child's brain to switch functions. So if you can, leave a half an hour. If can't, then you might even leave just 5 minutes. And don't be surprised if your child doesn't want to think about improving their work. Because children tend to think that as soon as they've slammed their paper and their pencil down and say finished, that
That's
they're
it,
finished.
job done, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we all know that to do anything well, you don't just do it, you then improve it, you tweak it. So stage 3 is the tweaking, improving stage.
Okay, so what are your strategies there?
Well, you have to start with a positive for a couple of reasons. Not only because that motivates children, but also because children learn more from thinking about what they did right than from thinking about what they did wrong. And this is hard for parents because when you pick up a piece of your child's work and you look at it, the first thing that pops out at you is the mistakes. So you need to take a big, deep breath and notice and mention at least 3 good things. And then have your child notice and mention at least 3 good things. And you have to really be specific. So you can't say something like, oh yeah, it's good. So depending on what your child's weakness is, that's where you're going to target your praise. So if their presentation is usually not very good, you'll say, you remembered to underline your title. You made sure you had margins, which is just the way the teacher wants you to do it. If you've got a child who gets confused in the maths, you'd say, all of your pluses are pluses, and you made sure when it's a subtraction sign, you didn't do any pluses, you did subtraction.
You had another very good strategy for motivating children, and it was with rewards. And one of those words was the descriptive praise, but there were other rewards as well.
Well, smiling is a huge reward. A lot of times we're so busy thinking about the next thing to do that we forget to really appreciate all of the okay things our children do. So let's smile at them. They will do more of whatever we're smiling about. And hugs, of course. We love hugging our children, and they love to be hugged. But we a lot of times forget to do it. So that's a little reward. And in addition to that, there are a lot of little rewards throughout the day that we can give if we start noticing what children are asking for. And one example is if your child says something like, can I play with your necklace? Or can I wear your necklace? Now, you might feel like saying no, but if you felt like saying yes, then you can turn that into an instant reward. You can say, yes, I'm going to let you play with my necklace because I remember when you were doing your homework, you really slowed down and you were so careful to keep your letters on the line. And that makes your child think, wow, keeping my letters on the line really pays off.
Noël.
But I haven't finished telling you about stage 3. So the first part of stage 3 is noticing and mentioning the okay things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll notice 2 things that need to be improved. Your child will notice 2 things that need to be improved, and he makes those 4 corrections. Even if you see many more things that should be corrected, just have him do those so that he doesn't get discouraged and fed up and frustrated and angry.
So you say some positive things, and then you limit the number of negative things. Thank you so much, Noël. It was such a pleasure to have you here. I'd like you all to take a look at Noël's article that she's written on my website. It's full of top tips to help any parent get their homework done with their children. Noël Janis Norton, author of Calmer, Easier, Happier Homework.